Welcome back, guys, to Pro League. KT Rolster off to a fantastic start on the back of Flash, getting 2 kills here, 1 against Trap and now 1 against Rogue. So in a fantastic spot.
That's right. And we're going to have to wait to see who the choice of player for Jin Air is. Very up in the air. I think it's going to either be SOS or Maru. They might want to get their mileage out of SOS today before he goes to travel tomorrow.
I think it has to be Maru at least now, and they go to send SOS later. The maps dictate it.
I think that's the better way to look at the maps as well.
I mean, they essentially only have 2 picks at this point, let's be real. Unless they want to send out someone like Pig Baby, Terminator. No, it's going to be Maru, and they are going to have SOS in their back pocket. Maps just work out this way, so we will be seeing Maru in that 3rd spot up against Flash.
We got to ask, who do you guys predict in this TBT?
Man, this is kind of a tough one.
I think I'd give it to Maru, to be honest.
I think I give it to Flash.
I give it to Flash as well.
I give it to Flash. Maru lost to Flash recently in Pro League as well, funnily enough.
Yeah, and Flash has said in interviews, fairly recently, I'd say probably about 3 weeks ago now, that he thinks his TBT is probably his strongest matchup right now. And, he prepared really well for Innovation and Gumio, 2 of the best meching players. His mech has been getting really on point. And we're going into, Coda, which is a map where both bio and mech are viable, but I think just with the meta, it's going to be all about the mech.
Yeah. And I think actually the map that we did see at Pro League between these 2 players was Coda. I think my memory is serving me correctly. But for me, I think Maru is going to have practice his TBT coming into this series, especially against KT Rolster. They have 2 big Terran hitters here. But you guys' points do stand. I think it's overall going to be a very close game here. But still going to give my vote to Maru. Maru in TBT 5-2 Flash. Not so much, but also in Pro League 2015, he didn't have the best season ever. He's had much better games in individual leagues.
Yeah, look at their average kills per ball. Not too far apart either, funnily enough, in Pro League.
Yeah, Maru, you would expect him to do better in all kill form, but he just doesn't.
Well, let's see how many kills he can get here. Is it going to be 0 or multiple? Let's jump into game number 3 on Coda between Flash and Maru. Down here in the bottom right, in the red, the Terran player, he's been out here for 3 games in a row now, looking to continue his streak. It is Flash.
His opponent to the top left, one of the last hopes here for Jin Air Green Wings in day 2, it is Maru. Now, I did some digging during that short little bridge there to find out if it was in fact Coda that he lost to Flash on that map, and in fact it is. His only recent wins versus Terran. Oh, Lilbo will win BlizzCon.
I'm a believer, man. Forever the baguette.
I think he really will surprise people at BlizzCon.
I don't think he can go down in the first level, I guess the round of 16, but I'm not sure if he's going to make it up to round of 4 and to the finals. I'd be very surprised. I mean, he's a fantastic player, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. That's a very stacked tournament.
But just going back to, I'd love to just get on this topic because I'm like a big Lilbo fan. But just going back to recent TBTs from Maru, the last TBT he played before this was versus Bomber in Coda, where he did win 2-0, but Bomber has not looked in form in the past few months. But he lost to Bravo in round 4 in July, and before that he hasn't really played very many TVs, like playing against Dream in Kespa Cup where he lost was the last time before that. So not a lot of TBTs from this guy, whereas Flash has been so focused on the matchup in recent times. I just really have to further give him the edge. But let's see how Maru's playing today. Let's see how on form he is, because I feel like his first game is always his best in this format.
Well, having a look at how these guys are starting things off here. Early SCV scout from Maru. Just wants to figure out exactly what Flash's plan. Flash just playing the very standard sort of build orders there. Nothing out of the ordinary here.
Doesn't want to scout, as Flash does like to not do. Maru also going for the, or rather that's Flash that did go for the pretty fast gas here.
That sign said that Monday casters buff is the reason why Flash got multi-kills. Monday Caster famous for always voting for Flash in the winner prediction.
To the point where we don't have to show the W on Flash in his little, in his little segment.
Oh, look at this. A little bit of harassment. It's going to see that very early factory from Flash, so Maru has no idea what's going on.
I think we're just going to see Maru get Viking into Raven with a delayed second gas to try to respond to this.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he did go for that defensive style considering how early the tech is. Viking or a Raven first, just to make sure he has the tools necessary for a Banshee.
Yeah, I suppose he could go Raven first into the Viking, would probably be okay.
I mean, Maru is like the one Terran these days, which also, may be part of the reason why he's not the strongest. We've been seeing Raven first be very popular these days in this matchup, and Maru is the guy that actually likes to go for a bunch of Banshees. He doesn't always get them very early. Sometimes he gets them just later out on the map, always commits to that cloak because he usually likes to use them throughout the game.
Yeah, his play versus Dream in the the Star League Season 1 Finals was a great showcase of how mid-game and late-game surprise Banshees can really get some serious harassment damage. So I'm really curious. Keep your eye on the production tab of Maru. When is he going to add the Raven? Is he going to do it after a Viking first and use a scan for that first Banshee, or is he going to try to squeeze the Raven out? It's going to be pretty tight if he wants to do that.
Yeah, well, that Banshee's already on the way for Flash, so he's going to have to really decide now. What does he want to do? He does have the gas for a Raven if he wants it.
Widowmine first, and looks like it is going to be a Raven with this move to the Tech Lab.
Yeah, with the Widowmine especially, it really just points towards that defensive play. Set him up, get your detection down. Seems like he's read Flash here, but I'm not sure exactly how. I mean, he did get that early scout to see that it was a very fast tech build, but...
Yeah, I think that would probably be it. Just make sure he gets that scout off, and he sees that factory. He's like, okay, this is pretty much designed to be either a Banshee rush or some other sort of very early aggressive play.
Sometimes we see players, after they're scouted like this, go for a Raven first just to throw their opponents off, make them play defensively. But Flash will actually commit to the cloak. Goes into his Raven after the Banshee, though, so not a 2 Banshee play, which I do like because, if your opponent didn't prepare for your Banshee after scouting a gas first, he's definitely going to prepare after seeing your first Banshee harass, and the second Banshee just should not do damage in this meta, considering everyone is rushing out the Ravens. Everyone is talking about interviews, Gumiho, Flash, Innovation, even Maru as well, talking about how important it is to get the early Raven.
I mean, you're always going to have that option later on with the Banshees if you want to go back into them. You do the initial harassment with your first one, you see what's going on. Always just having that option is a powerful thing because they are relevant all game long. You can always find a way in, do more and more damage.
Well, we do have the Raven spotting this Banshee here. Banshee was able to get 2 Marine kills, so it gets a bit of damage done, but not quite the damage that Flash was hoping for here.
Yeah, and now the CC is significantly ahead for Maru, which causes Flash to add a 3rd CC. Because obviously, when you scout something like this, you can't just go, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm just slightly behind. You have to try to take a risk to catch up. And so far, the composition's leaning towards Flash going into mech. Maru most likely will too, but we don't know for sure because he is still continuing to produce Marines. Okay, now switching it off.
Yeah, it looks like it should be a factory there. Hold on, I thought he plans to put that barracks on the tech lab, so I think he will go into that tank bio style after all.
Yeah, he wants to scout first. He scans. Now let's see. There's the stim, but instantly scanned by Flash as well.
Whoa. Big scout there. Just very intelligent play.
Yep, that's gigantic. So now Flash, all he needs to do now is essentially just prepare for this push that is eventually going to come his way. It does look like Maru is gearing up for a bit of a push already, though.
Yeah, pressuring the front here, not a bad choice. He's going to be running into a lot of Vikings from Flash early on, though. 4 will be out by the time Maru gets across the map.
That's really dangerous, especially you've only got these Marines, even with just 1 tank here. Uh-oh.
Boom. Never see that.
Well, that was probably for the best. At least it didn't hit in more of the important units. When you're going for an attack like this, offensive Widowmine's not as effective. But part of the reason why he goes for this push is because he saw the 3rd CC. This is really reminiscent of Maru versus Marine King in Pro League earlier this year. But this Viking count is going to make it tough to actually continue to siege, and he might have to PDD here. Ooh, barely not.
Not yet. Still half HP at this point.
Not enough tanks on the ground here for Flash to push those Marines away. Maru actually got a nice location there outside that natural to defend that Raven, just barely. See, it seems like he still does want to stick around even with Flash having the spiking lead.
Yeah, I kind of like this position as well. You know, it's going to at least force the lift on this command center, do a little bit of harassment. Losing the Raven for it, though, I don't think
really
that's where
agree with that, yeah.
I would have loved to see him just, hover that over his Marines and maybe let the Banshee kind of poke in and see if he can get some damage.
One advantage to this is the Banshee will find some damage here, but even more than that, I feel delaying this factory is really important because that is how Flash gets ahead. His economy, his extra SCVs won't matter if he can't build up a siege tank count that allows him to hold a third, because otherwise with all the barracks that Maru just added, he's going to be able to contain him for a long time. He needs to be able to get that siege tank count up, or he'll never be able to take that third, and without a third base, a meching player just simply cannot survive and cannot sustain the production off of all those factories that he needs with that extra gas.
Yeah. Well, for now, it's all about Flash sitting here, building that army he can comfortably move out and take that third base. And for Maru, I mean, considering he did go into that bio style, it means he's got to try and contain, counter drop, pull him apart before that mech army gets to the critical mass.
The more I think about that auto turret attack, the more I think it kind of makes sense. I mean, he's really delayed that factory, delayed the siege tank production. He's going into Marauder production, triple tech lab barracks, 3 Marauders at a time. He's going to have stim. Well, he already has stim. He's going to have combat shield shortly. He's going to have 1-on upgrades for a timing to really hit that third base hard, coming up pretty soon.
So it's not a very easy third base to hold as well. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Either one you choose. So it really comes down to Flash not overextending when he does move out.
It's part of the reason why this map can get sticky sometimes against Terran for Protoss. So essentially, as the Terran playing bio against the meching Terran, the meching Terran kind of playing like that Protoss Deathball. They want to keep everything together, whereas the bio Terran is just trying to go around your army and just hit you at your weakest points.
It's a very good analogy. It's very appropriate. It's all about keeping everything together, making sure you have that tight defense, and the bio player is always trying to split you apart. He will hold on to this base for now, though, and he's already doubling the siege tank count of Maru, but Maru with a ton of Marauders on the map. Point defense drone is going to be very important here. That placement is, possibly going to be do or die in the fight.
Yeah, it's also going to come down to how much anti-air does Maru have, because Flash certainly going to be looking to make those medivacs for those Hellbat drops, which can really tear apart a bio army.
Well, this is a funny exchange here. Viking loses half its health. Good scan here.
Yeah, Maru's trying to, once again, just bring this army apart. He's going to try to stim in some units over here and snipe a refinery, it looks like. Maybe get some SCVs as well.
Skip a little bit. It's going to take a refinery, and that's always an important thing against a mech player.
Yeah, a couple SCVs doesn't really lose anything at the same time.
Yeah, just for a small stem, easily a good trade there. Notice Flash is really going big on the turrets. He's making a ton of turrets all over his main, and his, even his third base has plenty of turrets. 2 sensor towers just, for extra measure, for that extra vision, and
right on top of each other. Fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
If you lose one, you got another one. It's all right. Yeah,
I guess.
But I do like the precautions that he's taking.
Yeah,
he knows his weakness here.
For sure. I think the only weak point really is that natural. If Maru could get a decent drop in there, there's only a couple of turrets behind the mineral line. He's going to go for another scan here.
He's going to go for a surround on this third base, it looks like, maybe even.
Well, he's trying to just poke in and get that refinery. It's still undefended from siege tanks, so he gets away with it. The thing is to remember, though, this is not critical damage. It's not going to really put him in a bad place. Hold on that thought, though. He's going to be running on in.
He's going to stim in, try to take out 2 tanks, but the PDD does come down.
See, that PDD placement is so important, but now he's used it. I feel like going for a sandwich attack or trying to find the harassment at the natural, as you mentioned, Valdez, is a weak point. He doesn't have a lot of turrets there. Would be a great idea, but he's a bit timid, actually, only attacking one place at once.
He's looking for it now, though. We do see 4 medivacs at the back, heading towards that natural. If he can avoid those 2 turrets, he could do a lot of damage.
Well, he's going to just come in here with 4 medevacs dropping in. Going to pull everything back. There are a lot of Hellbats in this mix to deal with it. But these 3 tanks are going to siege up right away.
Again, the PDD placement is very, very well done by Flash. Will actually chase the medevacs away. The turret's doing a lot of damage. But now the third base is exposed. Let's see if he can find some more damage here. There's only 2 siege tanks. The third one on the left.
Yeah, I think he's going to actually do huge damage here. Every tank going down, SCV's going down. Has to lift the command center as well. Everything Moving on back to Flash to kind of clean it up, but there's also another drop into that main base for a short amount of time.
Cleaning up that refinery once again. Going to force that to lift. Gets 12 SCVs at the same time. He can replace his army a lot faster than Flash, especially now that he has secured the 4th base.
Exactly, and that's why these sorts of trades, if you look at supply, you think, well, this is even. It's actually not really, because look at the bank for Maru. Look at how quickly he can remake his army with all the barracks he's at. I think he's gone up to like 9 barracks in this game already. And Flash is struggling to maintain his bank because he lost that refinery so many times. And these tanks that he lost are so expensive. He needs to make sure his Vikings and his Hellbat medevacs are on the defense, because those are going to be the units he needs to defend these drops with.
They're the ones that's completely annihilated, essentially. The thing is, though, you know, Flash is holding on. He's neck and neck with supply, and mech is timeless. A mech army, you don't have to worry about the late game, because it is the late game for Terran. Like, you just sit there and you make this perfect army where the buyer, they're on the clock. They have to find the damage they can with this Bio Marauder sort of style, and beyond that, like, they run out of time in the late game.
All right, he needs to boost these Hellbats in for the defense. Again, he's not. He's just really struggling to defend this harass. Now Maru finds a few siege tanks over here. Finally, the Hellbats coming in, but they're so late.
Oh, the drop coming in. Tons of tanks here, though, to deal with this. Is it enough for Maru? He's going to try to focus down a ton of these tanks. Gets about 3 or 4 of them, and is just going to back off.
It ends up being about an even trade, and again, even trades are still good for now for Maru. Oh man, this is not the best Hellbat drop here. Losing a lot of those medevacs there on the way, but we'll chase this back finally.
Yeah, still pretty good damage, pushing it all the way back. Only Marauders remain. And looks like Flash is finally going to move across the map. He hasn't taken too much damage at all in these trades.
His army is much more expensive. You know, the supplies in the top right can't actually show you that.
This is actually a huge counterattack by Maru. He's buying himself so much time here. Looks like Flash, though, is not going to really bite too much. His reinforcements are going to deal with it. Now he's going to try to siege that 4th base.
Yeah, I'm really scared about Maru here. He needs to get into a solid position to defend, and he's already out of position. Look at this. He's going to get totally zoned out here by these siege tanks. Has to fly away. This planetary is going down.
Yeah, guaranteed at this point. There is no way his buy can get on top of these tanks. There's way too many. Sitting at about 11 right now, sieged up outside that planetary.
Yeah, Maru just looks a bit stumped. He's going to try to go for the big drop, and at the same time, the Hellbat's got on top of everything.
Well, this is not going to be enough, though. I feel the PDD placement again, basically perfect from Flash. He's just out-controlling Maru in this series.
Maru giving a bit of a smirk in the booth. I think he knows he's lost this one already.
Yeah, that was a pretty bad engagement, a pretty desperate one at that, trying to fight up the ramp against so many tanks with that very small drop on top of them. Not cost-efficient at all, and now down 60 supply.
Just not the best positioning for Maru. He was not prepared for that fight, and Flash was very, very prepared. The Hellbat drops were essentially perfect in that one.
He's just not playing to the meta, and he's trying to find damage that's simply against someone who mashes turrets and makes sensor towers and has enough tanks and Hellbats ready in position. This style just does not really work anymore. Very rarely we see MMA work, make it work in round 4 finals. It just very rarely ever finds success against someone who's so good at defending.
That's going to be it. GG. Flash taking 3 in a row, and he's already taken out both Rogue and Maru here for the Jin Air Green Wings.
It's going to come down to SOS, I think, and SOS is going to have to do a reversal kill. But I don't know if he could even beat Flash at this point. Flash is looking way too strong.
Yeah, it's very well said. It's definitely true at this point. It's very hard to stop these players once they get this kind of momentum behind them.
Yeah, I just don't see anybody beating Flash that's left on the Jin Air bench. It's just not going to happen in my mind. I cannot even imagine it. That was a solid game by Flash.
It's going to be Terraform for SOS if he comes out, and I don't think anyone else will in his stead. I mean, Symbol, I don't think so.
Who's going to get 4 kills for you? It's got to be SOS.
Terminator, Capper HD.
Kappa Pride, man.
Kappa Pride all the way, man. Baby Rage, all that.
SPL Wolf.
Well,
could we see Symbol SPL Wolf?
I hope we don't, to be honest, man. We have not seen Symbol at all this season.
Yeah.
I think SOS is just going to have to do his best and try to not be pressured. Remember, tomorrow they're going back to the entry format where they did very well yesterday. They had a lot of cool snipe picks. And I do feel like for Jin Air right now, this is a stressful moment, mostly because Maru looked so frail in a matchup where normally he would have dominated it.
Yeah. Turns out he hasn't really innovated that TBT like I thought he may have. And Flash just really strong in the matchup. You guys ended up being very correct there. And as we said before, I think it's got to be SOS. So SOS, well, first, actually, guys, we're going to go to a